The question of alignment and what quantifies as being lawful good versus chaotic evil versus chaotic good has really been around since the beginning of the hobby. But by and large, the question remains, what is the value of alignment? If there really is any, and if 5th edition should just do away with alignment altogether. Yeah, that was a fun little bit of drop while writing this script, but the fact of the matter remains is that the UA for Dragonlance is really the first time that alignment has come up in core game mechanics in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, in contrast to things like the first few editions of D&D where alignment was critical, and even 3rd edition where certain classes were alignment locked. 5th edition has by and large done away with the concept of alignment altogether, rather leaning into more the ideals, bonds, and flaws characteristics of a character. But the question remains, why is alignment still a thing if there really is no reason to have it mechanically? Well, let's actually explore the earlier editions and see how they used alignment in their games. Now, the obvious answer is locking certain classes to specific alignments. The classic example is the Lawful Good Paladin. What this communicated narratively through mechanics is that the paladins were the pinnacle of goodness and righteousness. Unfortunately, this also led to the stereotype of the lawful stupid paladin, where they really didn't take into consideration what it meant to be lawful good and did more what the person perceived was a lawful good act, which would honestly devolve into a lot of, yeah, you know the conversations. If you spent any time on Den of the Drake, Crispy Tavern, Critcrab, any of the other D&D horror story channels, you've probably encountered this stereotype a lot. But that being said, there was actually an overarching narrative as to why alignments technically existed within the older editions of D&D. You see, there's actually kind of a meta-narrative happening within the game, that there was a cosmic battle happening between the orders of law and chaos, and that they were constantly clashing between each other, and your character's alignment signified that they were born being more aligned to that specific side. Not so much that they embodied moral aspects, but more so where they positioned on the overall conflict. In fact, the campaign, The Rod of Seven Parts, really hammers in this idea of law and chaos and the conflict wherein. It is actually really fascinating to look back at older modules and see how they would bring in this overarching narrative. But unfortunately, since alignment was so crucial back then, it really devolved into a lot of debates, because if you had an alignment shift, this would actually impede your ability to gain levels, and sometimes even completely crippling a class, making it basically unplayable. While it did in theory create interesting story arcs, such as a paladin going through a redemption arc, which is actually a very interesting beat, it was usually at the cost of a character shifting alignment. 5th edition rather did something very smart. It treated alignment more as a moral compass and less so of a where do you fall in the greater scheme of the cosmic conflict. Unfortunately, this still also led to many debates, especially when alignment shifts would happen, which as a DM, I'm all for alignment shifts, but as long as the players are on board with it as well. I think a character shifting alignment is a great way to mechanically show your character's progressions. Perhaps they start out as chaotic neutral, but eventually they shift up to chaotic good to show that the character is having a positive progression. Or you can have a negative change arc and the character is chaotic good and eventually falls down to something like lawful evil. But outside of really just flavor, there's really no reason for alignment to mechanically exist within Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Well, outside of the aforementioned Unearthed Arcana. So, is there an option that we can do for alignment outside just getting rid of it altogether? Actually, yes, there is. In 2005, Paizo released Pathfinder Unchained, a series of alternate rules to really help slim and trim down Pathfinder 1st edition to make it a lot more accessible to general audiences, as 5th edition had been out for about a year at this point, and it was clear that the overall tone of tabletop RPGs was shifting to be more accessible to overall audiences. And so within this book provided an alternate to alignment, something known as loyalties. Loyalties are similar to alignment as they describe your character's moral position, However, rather than saying if you're chaotic good, chaotic neutral, or lawful good, what it is you can say your character is loyal to a specific ideal, perhaps they're loyal to a specific god or church, maybe they're just loyal to family and friends. You can write that down, and honestly, this is actually a great alternative to alignment because it's less open to debate at the table. You can definitely have a conversation as to whether or not this will be a thing that will cause them to question their loyalty to a specific family member, ideal, church, organization, you name it. But the conversation is limited and can potentially be less hostile. Also, it opens up the door to more roleplay opportunities. And the good news is, loyalties are very easy to adapt to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. This is because, outside of the most recent UA, that is definitely not going to date this video in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, it's totally not going to date this video. Totally not. There really are no mechanics for alignment in D&D 5e. And the good news is, loyalties and how alignment work with alignment locked classes like they were in Pathfinder 1st edition are actually further explained and how that could work with loyalties. The reason why I really like the loyalty system in Pathfinder Unchained is that it harkens back to the notion of alignment, but keeps it open for the character input. And there's a multitude of reasons that you may want to use it, or just say, nah, I'm just going to remove alignment altogether in D&D 5e because, well, there's really no point for it mechanically, and there's no overarching narrative to really help influence or inform the character's decisions as to why they are chaotic good, lawful good, chaotic evil, you name it. But I really like loyalties because it really helps further down that I am playing this character and that this character is mine and I'm informing the decisions. But also because we can work with the Dungeon Master to figure out what the character would specifically be loyal to. This opens up a fantastic dialogue between players and Dungeon Masters to find out specifics regarding your character. Loyalties harkens back to the notion of alignment without getting rid of it altogether, but keeping it open for player roleplay. For that, I really encourage you to at least take a look at it. It is a very short section of Pathfinder Unchained, and yes, I will be linking it down below in the description and comments, so you can go ahead and read it for yourself and decide if you want to use it in your games. Honestly, this is one of the big reasons why I think more people should check out other systems. That way they can figure out what they like and what they don't like, and then bring it into the main game that they use for their players and really help make the game feel like their own. Because that's one of the strengths of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, is really allowing the Dungeon Masters to customize their game to make it feel like it is theirs. And loyalties can really provide that for the players. Well everyone, that's the video for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, then please consider leaving a like, comment, and subscribe. All that helps the channel grow, as well as lets me know they enjoy content like this. So apart from that everyone, let me know how alignment blew up in your face at the table. I want to hear those pseudo horror stories, or maybe how it worked in your favor in a creative way that you use alignment. Let me hear it. I want to know. So apart from that everyone, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, keep going.